FPUC retro is happening, just not as retro as one would have thought. FPUC under the third stimulus package is believed to go back to January of 2021 and then go forward to September of 2021. $400 a week. So if you're unemployed for those 40-something weeks, you could be seeing upwards of $16,000 to $18,000. That's a lot of weeks to be unemployed, but it's also a lot of help. Meantime, that goes on top of your PUA or UI. And if you follow this channel's advice and qualify for escalated benefits, you could be making about $300 to $400 a week under that as well. $800 a week for 40 weeks, that's a lot of money. In this Overnight LA throwback video, I explain how to get FPUC retro, how to do escalated benefits, what is UI, what is PUA, and what is FPUC. Enjoy this Overnight LA video on unemployment. More reason for unemployment benefits to be extended as new data comes in that is truly overwhelming. Hey everybody, this is LA Lake with a second stimulus check and stimulus package update for today. This one's about FPUC, that's $600 from the federal government, PUA, UI, with really great, exciting news about where unemployment labor is going in this country, and more indication that suggests that FPUC will likely get reinstated in August. Let me get right to the news. I have a lot of real breaking news today from airlines, from New York, and from new labor numbers that are out today that suggest that no one in their right mind thinks that FPUC is going to be thrown away. It literally cannot. It really won't be thrown away. So let me explain to what's happening. FPUC is at $600 from the federal government, which is part of the first stimulus package that pays people on UI or PUA an additional $600 from the federal government every week that they're impacted by COVID-19 from March all the way to July. It's called FPUC. It's on top of UI and on top of PUA benefits. It's not called PUA, it's called FPUC. The confusion erupted last weekend when I told you that FPUC is expiring this week. One viewer came in the comments and said, no, it's not expiring to the end of the month. And I said, no, the problem with unemployment is that some states pay weekly benefits on a different day of the week. So they literally don't pay to the very last day. What's happened is that I warned you that FPUC is going to expire by the end of this week, which is earlier than the actual bill is written, but there's some indications now that some states have now stopped paying FPUC as of yesterday. So the law of FPUC has not expired yet, but the payments of it have in some states stopped. But here's the great news. I really do think it's going to get reinstated in August as part of the second stimulus package. So what's going on here, LA? Well, here is what's going on. The second stimulus package is this big box and has a lot of stuff in it. It has the check, it has hazard pay, it has free rent money, and it also has all the issues of unemployment benefits like FPUC. Of all the things that this channel talks about on a daily basis, this singularly is the most talked about discussion on broadcasts, NBC, CBS, ABC, every single day. They talk about FPUC. It is very able to be understood by broadcasters and local news reporters, constantly hammering both parties about it. The Republicans don't like it. The Democrats like it. The Democrats propose under the second stimulus package to pay FPUC and continue it at $600 an hour, $600 a week, all the way into middle 2021. They don't want to touch the amount. The Republicans are really all over the place. We don't know firmly what their position on it yet is because Mitch Onse hasn't really debuted its grand tour yet. If you don't know, Mitch McConnell and Steve Mnuchin have been apparently, according to them, writing the second stimulus package for the Republicans over the last few weeks. They were supposed to debut it today. A little bits and pieces debut, but not enough for me to really report on yet today. It was supposed to be out yesterday, of course. And so they will tell us where they're going to have it land. But their words so far about FPUC have been really quite negative. It has been the position of the Republicans, and I'm not being partisan, I'm just reporting their position, that FPUC is a bad thing, that people are staying at home, that people are intentionally not going to work, that they're intentionally staying on unemployment because they're being paid two-thirds of the people that are receiving FPUC are getting upwards of 400% more than they got when they were employed. Now, there's only one report that supports that, and that report has not been verified by another report. Ultimately, that has been what they're calling their argument has been. And then when asked about the situation, they said, well, that same report does note that if you reduced FPUC to $600 from $600 to about $400 or $300 per week, then it solves about 60% of the problem. So getting rid of FPUC totally doesn't even fit anyone's argument. It doesn't fit the Republicans' argument. It doesn't fit the Democrats' argument. So what will happen to FPUC? Well, it will likely physically expire under the first stimulus package in late July. The law will likely expire. It may not get it renewed in time, even though Congress is in session by the end of this week. And if it gets expired, then you may likely see it reinstituted in August when a second stimulus package is approved on around August 7th or August 8th. Ultimately, as I've warned, and I clearly, I give you the bad news, I give you the good news, I give you the confusing news, which I try to make simple. Ultimately, if you are dependent on this $600 a week to live on, I want to warn you that you may not get that $600 for about 2 weeks of late July. There may be a lapse in time that even if it's reinstituted in August at $600 or $400 or $300, there will be a lapse in time before you get that retroactively backwards. So that's where we go. But here there's just, look at all this. I mean, I have really big, exciting, compelling news about FPUC right now. So let me get right to it. It's just all over the place. First of all, airlines. Airlines have been hitting Congress as with lobbyists to get bailouts for a second stimulus package. They got a bailout for the first stimulus package. Well, guess what? Southwest Airlines is laying off 17,000 employees, or 17% of their workforce, and are asking them to either take leaves of absence or early retirement. They're closing 28% of their workforce because of COVID-19. Overall, I'm pleased with the response to these programs. That's her comment. But it's because they are hurting. Delta Airlines says that is asking pilots to apply for early retirement. The voluntary early pilot retirement program is in place. So all these people from those two airlines are now going to be unemployed. They need benefits. And you know what? You can't ignore them. And the lobbyists are not going to let congressmen, I just butchered that word. The lobbyists are not going to allow congressmen to ignore them. They're going to say, get them unemployment benefits, because they're very powerful lobbyists for the aerospace industry. I detailed yesterday. They actually said they're on the Hill right now. This is a meaningful progress as we look to mitigate furloughs, and our teams are hard to determine the next step and evaluate it. Well, the next step is that they're unemployed. And more unemployment means more need for an extension of FPUC, more benefits for unemployment benefits under a second stimulus package. Next, unemployment benefits by virtue of a federal law or a state law. Today, minutes ago, Representative Alejandro Ocasio-Cortez, a Democrat of New York, proposed a new bill. It's called the Make Billionaires Pay. Make Billionaires Pay. I mean, that's really the title of the bill. I did not make that up. And it proposes to tax billionaires only in the state of New York, and to generate about $5.5 billion a year, and with that money to use it to pay unemployment benefits in the state of New York. FPUC, well, not FPUC, but UI, PUA, and things like that. It's the time to stop protecting billionaires. It's time to stop working for the working families, says Cortez. What's interesting is that the reaction has been overwhelmingly negative from other Democrats. Why? If you think about it, this is sort of simple. Here's the response. Andrew Cuomo, who's of course a Democrat, says, no, what you're doing is just forcing our billionaires to flee to Connecticut. They will take everything to Connecticut, and we will lose out of all this money. You know what you do, Cortez? You know what you do with this bill? You make it a federal law so that no one will flee to another state to avoid it. Just apply it as a federal law across the board. Cuomo says if they want a tax increase, don't make the New York alone do a tax increase. Then they just have the people move to Connecticut. Let the federal government pass a tax increase and let them apply it across the country so we don't hurt any one particular state. Because if you take people who are highly mobile, like billionaires, and you tax them well, they'll just move to the next door where the tax treatment is simpler. It has to be done on a federal level. So that is that bit. Then we have really, this report last is really the most shocking. It says 6 states have seen the number of employees going to work at small or medium-sized business decrease enormously, according to a new report by Homebase. It says that some states that really have big pickups in COVID-19 cases have astronomical unemployment numbers. The vast majority of the pickup in both initial and continuing claims of unemployment came from recent COVID hotspot states such as Florida, which is up 62,000%. 62,000 initially, is up 308,000 people. Georgia up 166,000, and California up 216,000, demonstrating the recent leveling off is what we're seeing these high-frequency data on mobility. It says a new report from Deutsche Bank. So what is it saying? It's saying exactly, what I've been saying and what you've been saying in the comments, that as COVID-19 cases increase, as lockdowns are issued, unemployment numbers are going to go through the roof, and they are. In California, 80% of the state is on lockdown because of Gavin Newsom's order, an order which I don't think is comprehensive enough. I think a lot more of the states should be locked down, if not all of the states should be locked down. So as states are issue lockdowns, whether you're Ohio, which is the new Florida according to its own governor, or Florida, or Louisiana apparently is now in a very, very dire situation overnight again. Florida has 30 plus hospitals at full ICU capacity right now. 30 plus hospitals that don't have enough nurses. We're in a very, very bad situation immediately. We're only in middle July. Those unemployment numbers say, hey, you got to extend FPUC. You have to give unemployment benefits to these states from the federal government. Nationally, these rates of unemployment are going up 23% in some cases. Areas that have seen a spike in coronavirus cases are seeing declines in business activity, meaning less people are going to businesses, less people are buying, and less people are shopping there. Although the declines is not as steep as the first few cases. But the data shows that states like Florida, Arizona, Texas saw the number of employees going to work really sharply down and the number of people shopping at those businesses dramatically down. This is from the Labor Department. This is from the building just down the street from the Congress. It's like, hey, you want to decide what we're going to do with FPUC? Just look at the building down the street. They got the data for you. While most forecasters likely anticipate that the pace of labor improvement is to slow somewhat from the heavy progress in May and June, the more severe slowing or complete reversal of the labor gains could materially impact second half growth estimates. I really just think this is sort of like, deer in headlights. I think this is sort of ridiculous. I think it's so predictable. It's so obvious. I sort of want Captain Obvious to walk in the set behind me and say, yes, I predicted this as well. You have lockdowns in states being issued across the board. You have 67,000 new COVID-19 cases every single day across the country. You know what 69,000 COVID cases is? It's 69,000 newly unemployed people. They will be unemployed. Moreover, almost everyone in their household will now be unemployed because they have now been around someone who has COVID-19. They qualify for unemployment. So, just take that number alone. That's 200-something thousand per people per day newly that are unemployed. And then you have members of Congress saying, I don't want to create a welfare state. People are just staying home and getting rich. No, they're getting affected. I don't usually tirade or rant, but here's a moment I really, really want to rant, and it just sort of came to me right now, and I'm just in the mood for it, so get ready. The governor of Missouri said really one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard overnight. He said that he wants kids in the state of Missouri to get back to school, and that he said, these were his words, they will get COVID-19, and they should just get over it. You see, this is the problem that's at hand. And he's a Republican and not being partisan. But here's the problem of what's at hand, is that the kid gets COVID-19, brings it home, and dad and mom gets COVID-19. Well, dad and mom are now unemployed, Governor. What are you going to do about that? You're not going to pay unemployment benefits to them? You're not going to give them FPUC? You want people to go to school and get COVID-19 and get over it. Well, how? Are you ready to pay people unemployment benefits for people who get over it? Because ultimately you have to wait 14 days to get over it, if you don't die from it. So are you paying unemployment benefits? Are you extending FPUC? There's a real problem of this sort of using stories and excuses on one half to not pay people benefits on their second stimulus package, not pay them an extension of FPUC. People just want to stay at home and get rich. Okay, then you say get to work and get COVID-19 and get over it. No, I go to work, I get COVID-19, I'm unemployed. Are you going to pay me unemployment? Are you going to pay me extension of FPUC? I really do think that this is all going to hit a block wall, and the block wall is going to fall in late July. I think all this nonsense is going to come to the surface and just sort of be thrown out the door. When it sounds like nonsense, it is nonsense. It really is nonsense. I really do think FPUC is going to extend it. I think we have to go through a whole lot of chatter until we get there. But ultimately, what I want you to be informed about and educated about is that benefits will be expiring in your states this week, if not already. So please prepare yourself financially accordingly. As always, stay motivated, stay informed, stay focused, stay smiling, and stay allied for more.